So, Jesse, talk to me about this concept or idea of making a portable venue feel permanent, right?
Okay,
And how we try to transform environments,
we do.
but also recognizing and living in the fact that, hey, we are a portable church, and we should love that and embrace that. And kind of when you're talking to pastors, what does that conversation look like for you?
There really is a sweet spot, I believe, in the concept of portability, where you align the vision of, we're going to take this portable space, we're going to convert it into a church on Sundays or Saturdays, primarily Sundays, and we're going to usher in a worship experience that people can really engage with, hold on to, and be a part of, right?
Yeah.
But there's a fine line there, because if you go too far in either direction, if you go too minimal, or you go too much equipment and too much stuff and too much setup, you miss the mark, right? You don't create an environment that is enticing and inviting and comfortable. The reality of not enough makes it feel really stark, and there's no change, or at least not enough to where anybody really notices or recognizes it and is able to engage with the environment differently.
Yeah.
Because if we go back to our conversation from a couple days ago, nobody is going to forget that they pulled up to a school. Right? Nobody's going to forget that they parked in the school parking lot. The football field is right there.
Right.
They're walking past the mascot and going into the building. So again, that goal is to bring people to a point where they don't care. Right. It doesn't matter. Matter of fact, it's celebrated.
They feel comfortable in that space.
Exactly.
That's a big deal.
They feel comfortable that we now worship at this high school. We now worship at this middle school.
Yeah. Okay. Well, even in kids ministry environments too, right? Feeling comfortable putting their kid into a classroom that used to have a bunch of desks, but now actually feels kind of like a classroom.
Yeah.
There's the importance level of that.
No, it's huge. I mean, my personal example, a few years ago, my wife and I moved. We started checking out churches in our area. I went to 2 portable churches that you could tell the heart was there, but they really missed the boat on opportunities to create an engaging kids environment. And it was not something I felt comfortable as a dad leaving my kids in, especially the first time. I mean, we walked in, checked it out. I'm like, that's a no. The first one, we literally went in and we sat and still experienced worship, and it was a good experience. But overall, I didn't want to have to bring my kids into church with us, into the worship service every Sunday. I wanted them to be able to go to a good kids program. At the same time, a few weeks later, we went to another one, and same problem. The kids' environment was not developed. It looked like an afterthought. It felt like an afterthought. It was like, we also do maybe have a place for kids.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the heart that was behind it, but functionally that's what happened.
Yeah.
We didn't even stay.
Yeah. Wow.
We literally turned around, left.
Wow.
I didn't stay for worship. I didn't stay for anything. We didn't really even say hello to anyone.
Well, and like saying hello to people kind of in my brain brings me to like the lobby and hospitality area.
Yeah,
and like limiting your amount of signage and things like that. Listen, I have a rule. A person is always better than a sign. That's my rule.
I get
it. You can have both. That's great. But having a person to welcome you is awesome.
Yep.
But if you remove signage completely and people are just kind of searching through the hallways of this school,
right,
trying to find where to go, whether it's kids, bathrooms, auditorium, and they're like somehow end up upstairs on the second floor, and you're like, I don't even rent that part of the building today.
Portable churches that use the portable church system that we design and develop a system for, one of the primary things we address is signs.
Yeah. Most
churches in North America, I can't speak to Europe and the other places, but I can't imagine they're any better. The signage is terrible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The mindset that we use, and it's actually a persona that we've kind of created over the last few years, of a particular person. And this particular person, if you can set it up so that they can get in and out of church, then you've literally covered everybody else.
Right.
Now there's always caveats, but 99.9% of the time we've covered everybody else. That is a young single mom who's an introvert.
Okay.
If you can make it so that she can get into the parking lot easily, find a spot, park, ninja her way inside, drop her kids off, grab a cup of coffee and slip into a seat, experience worship, slide back out, grab kids, and then back out of the parking lot with as little human contact as possible,
Yeah.
then you've covered everybody else.
Yeah.
So that's what your signs need to look like. It's like the airport.
Yeah.
When you're getting off of an airplane at the airport, I don't know of any airport where you get off the airplane and there isn't a sign that says where to go, baggage
Right.
claim, restaurant, restrooms, ground transportation, all that
Yeah,
stuff. There's always a menu sign that tells you, here are your selections, here's your options.
Right.
They're these directions.
Yeah.
When you think about signs, it falls into a few different categories. There's attention getters.
Okay.
There's menu signs, which we just talked about. It's, worship, kids check, coffee, restroom, guest reception, right? That's right when you walk in the front door. That menu sign should be there, okay?
Okay.
You're then gonna have wayfinding signs. So if it says kids check is to the right, you need to be able to look right and see another sign that either says it's a destination sign, which is your final destination, kids check's right here, or another kids check with an arrow pointing you a different direction.
Right.
Right? So everything falls into those categories
Okay.
when it comes to signs.
That's good.
You really want to think about when it comes to creating an environment. Again, it comes from the top down.
Yeah.
Right? The perception that leadership creates and helps to foster that feeling of and belief that we are in this school and we're going to celebrate it. We're not going to hide it. We're not going to pretend like we're not. We're not going to pipe and drape from the front door all the way through the entire building. We don't need to do that. Are there strategic places you need to put some things? Yes. Are there great spots to put big banners and signs? Absolutely. That's part of the process that we go through as we're doing our design and discovery phase at the initial outset with a church as we engage in that project. But there really is a balance point. Too little makes it feel like there's no
hospital?
change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still feels like a school.
Yeah. Or a movie theater.
Whatever
movie
theater. Sure, I know.
Yeah.
I'm picking on schools a lot. I know, but yeah,
Yeah.
movie theaters, community centers, event centers.
Well, like a movie
ballrooms.
theater, for
Yeah.
instance, right? Like, hey, maybe you're not serving coffee and cookies and popcorn, right? And so maybe you block off the concessions, right? And that's
Sure.
an intentional thing that you're going to
Yeah.
block off to not distract the 5-year-old from asking
Absolutely.
their mom for popcorn the
Or-
entire time.
Or the
right?
video games.
Right, or the
If there's a
video
video
games,
game
right?
area, and you're like, we don't need everybody,
Exactly.
jumping
Those
on
are
that.
intentional
Yes.
coverings to
Yes.
not to create a distraction-free environment.
Absolutely.
So that your congregation members feel like, hey, this is intentional. Yes, we're in a movie theater, but
Right.
we're trying to make it feel like a church.
Yeah.
That's just one example
Mhm.
of a way to
That's
do it
perfect.
cleanly and not feel like, hey, I don't even know what I'm in. I feel like I'm in a construction zone because everything is, black scuba wall or black pipe and drape all the way down.
Yeah.
Right?
And then there's no life.
Right.
Right? Black is great for production. I'm not as big a fan of black, and I know people hate me for this. I don't love black fabric in lobby environments because I don't feel like it gives you all of the options that you could be leveraging. It takes away some of the environment, and it makes it it's not very friendly. Like it's
Yeah.
not warm, it's not inviting.
Yeah.
It's great for production. On the stage, all day long.
Yeah.
In the worship environment, all day long.
So, kind of talks about, hey, not too much, not
Yep.
too little. Man, I'm just interested. Like, do you have any? I don't know. Do you have a story or an example of either end that you are willing to share with me?
We won't use any names.
Of course not.
But there's a church that we've worked with a handful of times. Wonderful. We love them dearly. They're phenomenal. However, they really firmly believe that lobby space needs to look entirely and completely different.
Yeah.
The end product is fantastic, right? It looks amazing.
Right.
The setup, you've got to have a team that's dedicated to that.
Yeah.
They literally just have a lobby fabric setup team. That's all they do
Because it's completely covered.
because it's completely covered,
Okay. Wow.
right? There's only the last one we did with them. There's a couple banks of windows that are left open. Everything else is covered.
Well, and that's a good point there, which is like understanding what you're covering too. Like
Right.
covering up natural light again brings it to the level of like it feels dark and grim and
Right.
and like I don't know if I really want to be here, right? Versus inviting and welcoming and
Yeah.
engaging. And so
Well, it's an intentional, and I get what they're doing because it really is intentional. Do I think that it creates for a smaller church that doesn't have the setup team
Yeah.
and doesn't have that kind of volunteer base? I think that can be problematic.
Yeah.
For the church that has a huge volunteer base and wants to use them in that way, I think that's okay. But again, context matters.
Well, and when we're talking about time, which we've talked about before,
Huge.
like
Yep.
the amount of setup that goes into something like that, of trying to transform a school into a church to that degree, these volunteers will start to feel like, man, when's my stipend coming?
Right.
Right. I mean, at a certain point, like you might as well cover the front sign of the building, get on a
Yeah.
scaffold and
Yeah.
cover that and just make it your church's name, right? Because if that's what you're going to do in the lobby and throughout the space, that's kind of where we're at. So,
Absolutely. But again, you can do so much.
Yeah.
And I think the key word there is strategy.
Yeah.
What's your strategy? You have to be strategic in how you apply those different environmental pieces to that space.
Okay.
But you can do a great job. Now, on the flip side, like we said, if you don't do anything, it's probably not going to look like anything, and there won't be any real change to the environment that helps to create that.
Yeah, well, and it can become, again, to kids ministry. I have a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old, and I think about like if I walked into a library and there was nothing blocking off all the bookcases that are right outside
Oh
of the
my
kids
gosh,
ministry,
yes.
or I go into a science classroom and all this lab gear is sitting right outside of where my 2-year-old is supposed to be playing at. My 2-year-old will run through the play panels that we put around him, right? And so the last thing I want is to at least see the stuff that he could potentially get into.
Right.
Right. And so having an environment that doesn't feel safe and secure for the kids is a big deal. If you don't do enough, that can be an implication of kind of if a family will come back or not.
No, totally understandable. I can't imagine that Amanda would be super stoked that they're playing with Bunsen burners and glass beakers.
No, she
right?
would not.
In the kids' environment.
So
But that's the balance point, really, right? It's where do you draw the line between how long does it take to set it up and what's my end product?
any insight from you on similar, obviously exact same concept and topic, but any insight into that being in the worship experience area? Like, is there going to above and beyond in that area in your mind?
I usually hesitate to step too far into that side of things. And the reason I do that is because I understand that there's so many different expressions of worship.
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
Okay.
And you know, the things that you're going to do in LA or Orlando are not the thing that you do in Lincoln, Nebraska necessarily, right?
Okay.
There's definitely overlap,
Yeah.
but they're not going to be the same,
Okay.
right? Or even the things that you do like here in Detroit, right? They're not going to look like they would if it was in downtown LA.
Yeah.
Right? There's a difference there. So I think if we take it in context, but the philosophy behind too much really comes down to at what point do we cross over from, wow, this is absolutely necessary
Yeah.
to create the worshipful space, versus we just like cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I like cool stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying there is a fine line there.
Okay.
And I think in a portable environment, that's one of the neat things about portability is it really helps churches distill, because you can't just keep adding to the system. You can in a way,
Yeah.
but at the same point, you know, it's like adding just to add. Now you're actually counting the cost of time, money, storage, right, to do that.
Okay.
So that's one of the neat things I think about portability is it allows you to distill and really determine what are the actual things that we got to have to make this work.
Okay. So less is more sometimes.
Sometimes.
More can be good sometimes.
Yes. It's the most like non-answer answer.
Yeah.
But at the same point, like,
But there's a balance.
but
and
it
that's what's
has to be.
important know.
But you really do have to understand your culture. You
Yeah.
have to understand where you're going.
Yeah.
Right. And there's an alignment there between the vision that God gives the pastor, that worshipful experience that they create as a result of that. And one of the things that we see, and one of the things that we're really good at doing, and I don't say that to be arrogant, I say it because I truly believe it's a true statement. We're really good at helping pastors define that vision into the tangibles,
Yeah.
right? Because we'll say, close your eyes. Tell me, what do you see?
Yeah.
The pastors are always visionaries, right?
Yeah.
What is it that you see? What does that worship experience look like? What does it feel like? Now we go, okay, now that we understand that, you've painted us this picture, it's our job to now put that on paper and design it out.
Yeah. Well, and two other things that just popped into my mind. The first is like your venue matters. And so
Yeah.
like I thought about, there was a church, I don't remember what church it is, but I think you had sent me a photo of it. You were on the delivery, and I think it was a clubhouse or something like that. And the auditorium was gorgeous. Like it had like these wooden beams that were running to the
Yes.
top. Beautiful
Yes.
auditorium,
Yeah.
right?
Super
you don't
ornate.
need anything else
No,
in there,
it
right?
was amazing.
Right? But I
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
in that same venue, they might have like a massive desk that's like right in the front of the area.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, we kind of want to block this. And our team was like, hey, we need to block this, right?
Yeah.
So what your venue looks like can
Huge.
really impact how much you need to cover
Right.
versus how much you don't need to.
To your point, what was so crazy about that one space is we had to be really careful how we did that, and we had to be super specific and precise
Yeah.
on the covering of that, because some of the things that we would normally do, we couldn't, because it was at the front door.
Yeah, it like
And it
protruded
literally,
out, right?
it stuck into the entryway. So if you went too far, you're now impeding traffic.
Right.
And there was another table just opposite of that one, diagonally across from the front door. So there was this real narrow like funnel, and
Yeah.
it forced everybody into this little space. And so we had to be really careful with that. But yeah, dude, the worship space was gorgeous.
Yeah. One of the other like healthy, intentional like things that will help with, you know, creating a distraction-free environment for me that I always think is worth it is covering hallways or other areas that you are not renting,
Yes.
right? So like putting an end cap graphic or something like that helps people say, hey, I don't need to go down this way at all,
Right.
right?
There's nothing for you
There's
down
nothing
here.
for me down there. Something beautiful with your logo, you know, whatever it is. That's just one helpful tip that for me is always a worthy investment, regardless if you're gonna cover the entire building or not. Like end capping your hallways that are not of use is a massive win.
Yeah, really defining that environment of saying, yeah, there's a full stop here. There's also, we should probably have a separate conversation about this, but there's a security element to that,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Of by kind of end capping and encapsulating that space, defining the space clearly for everybody to see, you now aid your security team in controlling that.
Yeah, yeah. And again, guiding that typical individual that you were talking about, it helps guide them exactly to where they need to go. So
yeah, you can leverage that. It's huge.
yeah, that's great.